Yeah, hi guys. My name's Belinda Smith from Renovate and Real Estate, and I'm doing a four-part breakdown on helping kids getting started in the property market. I know that a lot of mums who are my age speak to a lot of women my age and dads who are really concerned about how on earth their kids are going to get started, and they're worried that they're up against it and that they'll never ever get to buy their own property. So I just thought I'd do a four-part series, and this is part one, guys. I truly believe a lot of this is my own opinion. You can take it or you can leave it, but I really think that mums and dads should not gift their kids. So here's why mums and dads should not gift their kids. These are the kids of today. These kids are different to the kids of my generation, and they're a lot different to the kids of the generation before. So the generation before, let's have a look at that. Let's talk about someone my mum's age. My mum was born in 1937 and my dad was born in 1932. They lived they were in their teenage years just after the war had all kind of finished, and they were starting on their way to earn money and buy property around about that era. They never expected anything when they were at school. Not everybody had shoes. Not everybody had the ability to go and buy pens and rubbers and rulers. Like, they did it pretty tough, that generation. They had not the same kind of access to running hot water and showers at whim like we do. They had to boil up a copper before they went out. And, all the kids in the family would jump in there to get as clean as they could. Got to help the last. But that was their experience. Then you've got my experience, and I was born in 64. My life was still just as simple, no technology and all that kind of stuff. But we were allowed, my generation and mum and dad's generation were allowed to run around and play, to fall over, to experience life. It was uncomplicated in lots of ways. We also grew up knowing that the Australian dream is to buy property, and we always expected to be able to do so. Me in particular, because I'd watched mum and dad buy one property, but also buy an investment property, renovate it and flip it. So for me, property was like, it was just something that I was going to be able to do, and I was prepared to work to get there. These kids of today, what we've done with this generation, and I mean my kids, so my eldest is 30 and my youngest is 27, and I've got one in between. So 27, 29 and 30, boy, girl, boy. Hang on, girl, boy, girl, girl, boy, girl. So their experience is different to our experience. They are surrounded by technology and marketing. They were at school and they had soft padding underneath their playground equipment so that they couldn't fall over. They weren't allowed to fail. We'd make sure that they didn't feel bad. So if I saw one of my kids doing not very well at maths, I organised a tutor, or I did extra work myself to kind of scoop them up and bring them up. We really don't like, as parents, to see our kids suffer. We don't like to see them hurt, and we don't like to see them fail. So we are enablers. We're enablers, guys. So, all right, forgive me. There's going to be lots of generally speaking in today's little talk. There's going to be lots of generalizations. So your family might be different. You might have a different experience. This is a kind of generalized talk, but here we go. Going to have a crack at it anyway. So yeah, we don't like our kids falling over. The helicopter parents, we were behind them at barbecues to make sure that they didn't get hurt. We made sure that they didn't have fights at school. We kept their lives nice. We never left them wanting for anything very much because we could afford it. And so why leave them struggling? We helped them get up if they fell down. We loved them to experience the highs, but really what we did was create a buffer. If life is like this, you range from the lows to the highs. What we did as parents who wanted our kids to be safe and feel secure and not miss out on anything and not do without anything is we kind of closed that gap. We insulated the kids a little bit. And so these insulated kids from the highs, the lows, the failing, the falling, they're the same kids who are now in their 20s and 30s who we're saying, okay, guys, go out there and buy property. It's a bit tricky right now. We expect you to go and do it. And it's a bit tough for the kids. We love to experience wins. We didn't like to experience losses very much. And we didn't like for them to feel sad or think that they were the ones who missed out. So therefore, in every primary school ceremony I saw, sports presentation, I saw every kid get a trophy. And even my generation wasn't like that. The one who came first got a trophy. Everybody else, maybe second, got a medal, but that was about it. Now everyone gets a trophy. Everyone who comes second, third, or fourth in a netball team or comp or whatever, you see them all walk around with their trophies. And I just don't think we really have protected them. We've cotton-wooled them just a little bit. So here's the result. They're good humans. Please don't think that I'm not saying that these kids have grown up to be or haven't grown up to be really nice, productive members of society. I love my kids. I love their mates. I like spending time with them. That's not the point. But the point is this: their expectations are a little bit different than ours. We never really expected a lot. We certainly didn't expect to be able to afford a lot of the nicer things in life. We worked towards that, whereas these kids have got great and easy access to credit. They've got things at their fingertips, particularly the city kids. So let's talk about all of these things that they're used to having, and let's think about what they're prepared to give up for a little while, if anything. Something has to give. For these kids to get started in property, the hardest part for them is to climb that great big mountain of getting a deposit sorted, of saving for that deposit, of getting a start. That's a big hill to climb. Something has to give. I know that Uber Eats it's an amazing invention. One of the kids here one night ordered ice cream via Uber Eats, cost her $30. I couldn't believe it. But it was quite funny. She just said, I felt like an ice cream, didn't want to go down the shop myself, so I just ordered it via Uber. That fascinated me. $30 for a tub of ice cream. But that's the kind of things kids will do. They will pay for delivery. It's just a no-brainer to get something delivered. They will go out for breakfast. The smashed avocado, the halloumi cheese and the eggs. That's what they expect to do with their friends when they meet up. Not right now if there's any kind of shutdown or lockdown in your area. But other than that, other than the restrictions suffered in 20 and 21, kids expect to go out with their friends. It's part of their socialising. It's part of their psyche. They just expect it. They don't think that they shouldn't, that it's bad, and it's not bad, but there has to be some kind of balance. They will eat at nice restaurants and they will order cocktails at $20 a drink. So here's some of the things they can do. Perhaps they can cook their breakfast at home and meet for coffee. Perhaps instead of getting Uber Eats, they could go and pick up their takeaway, or even better, go to Coles, Woolies or Aldi, buy food and prepare meals at home. And if they committed to doing that for month after month after month, they would save a lot of money. Perhaps they could commit to going to a nice restaurant once every blue moon for somebody's birthday or anniversary, or to meet someone there on a really special occasion, and not just because they thought they deserved it after a busy week of work. And perhaps if they went to bars that served cocktails, they could order something different. They could order some soft drink. They could order some lime and sodas, whatever, but just, be more aware of where every cent is going. I just see these young kids and they have money and it's just like a leaking sieve. It just goes in, goes out, goes in, goes out, goes in, drains out, goes in, drains out. There's just no real urgency to start to save. And what's happened, which is even worse than that, is that they're starting to think that it's so far beyond them, they don't need to save because they'll never get their own house. They'll just never be able to do it. So why bother? They've given up. And that really, really upsets me. Outdoor concerts, these music festivals, tickets range from $300 to $500 each person. So that's like for a couple, it's a lot of money for a couple. And, a lot of these kids love these music festivals and they will go 3 and 4 times a year. If you just add up that one thing, if they chose not to do it for 12 months, to commit to miss out for 12 months, that's already a couple of $1,000. Before COVID, our guys were just traveling. They thought it was a given right. You went to high school, you finished high school, you went to uni, you finished uni, you traveled, you saw the world, you spent your money, you enjoyed, you experienced life. Yes, I see the point of view and I see the benefits, the life experience benefits of that. But then there's no point coming home and going, oh my gosh, now I'm 28 or 29. I don't have any money for a deposit and the property prices have been zooming along and I'm now left behind. No point. We need to let kids know what they're up for when they make those kind of choices. We need to let them know what they're up for when they make these kinds of choices as well. New cars. It seems to be another great big trend that kids go to school, they go to uni, or they start their first job, they earn their income, they'll go and get a car loan and get a car, or they might just go out and save for a new car. And everyone says, oh, that's so wonderful. You deserve it. You've worked so hard. You look so lovely in this new car. They've done some surveys. Research has shown that the dopamine payoff, that high feeling you get from being in a new car lasts for 18 months. 18 months. You own that car for a long, long time. That car is falling in value year after year after year. Property goes up in value, cars fall in value. You put your money into cars, it keeps going down. You're making that gap wider. So, in the end, if you can encourage your kids to jump into a car that's enough, that's safe, that will get them to A to B, that is enough. It's not a dirty little broken down thing that you're going to worry about them on the highway with. Doesn't have to be a new car. Just the kids don't get any good, decent education about finance at school, not ordinary everyday stuff. So it's up to us as parents to teach them about finance, about proper finance, about the rules, the unwritten rules of actually what goes on, to show them why wealthy people get wealthy, to let them know that property purchase or buying property is available to them, but they're going to have to do certain things to be able to get there. And the number one thing is to get that deposit under their belt. So perhaps this, which is all over Instagram and advertising by the car companies, but perhaps this shouldn't be the expected or the accepted. Perhaps it should be something different. Perhaps we should all be more satisfied with a little bit less. The same with moving out of home. It's like, okay, don't want to live with the oldies anymore. I've lived there enough. I'm all grown up. I'm out of uni. I've started to work. So I'm just going to go and rent. And I'm going to rent somewhere nice because I deserve to live where I want to live. And so, it's really hard for kids, guys. Once they're on that rental bandwagon, it's very, very hard to pay rent and to also save up on the side. It's very difficult to do both. If, as parents, you wanted to help them at all, I love the idea of allowing your kids to stay home for longer, and don't make it uncomfortable for them, like nag them about getting out sooner than they need to, or how you deserve your own space, or when I was your age, I was already out of my own property, like none of that. Allow them to stay longer and allow them to commit to saving a deposit while they're there with you, while you can help them a little bit. And this is the way you can help them, making their lives a little bit easier, doing their washing for them. It's no big deal. You've got your own washing in the machine. Doesn't really matter to throw somebody else's in with it. And just making their days a little bit clearer so they can focus on taking that leap ahead, and encourage them to do that. I'll talk about this particular property a little bit later in these slides, but just be aware that the kids now, they are looking at what they earn and they're looking at the quality of home that they can rent. But house rents are also going up. The rentals of apartments are also going up, and they're going up faster than wage increases, much faster than wage increases. So what can they do? They need to start, they have to know that it's not going to get any easier. It's really not going to get any easier. In fact, the property market has moved around 7% on average forever. It in Sydney has moved, and on average across all of Sydney, 16% in the last 12 months. In some pockets around Australia and some pockets of Sydney has moved up near 26%. It is not predicted to change. Interest rates are still beautifully low. Interest rates are low. There's not a lot of stock on the market. People don't have choice. And as soon as immigration really returns to normal, and also a lot of our expats come back, they're dying to get started, and Australia is looking like a nice place to hang out, then we're going to see even more pressure on the existing homes, which will naturally drive prices up. And that means rental prices as well as purchasing prices. So it's not going to get any easier. So what can they do? Start saving, save better, start to look at their expenses, break down their expenses, be aware of their expenses, write them down, write down the must-haves and the would like to have, and write down a few things that they're not prepared to give up as well. That's fine. But really need to look at where their money is going through that sieve. Where is it all disappearing? If your kids have finished uni and they've been working for a few years and they don't have any savings at all, that is cause for alarm. It just means they're spending up to what they earn. Many people live their entire lives spending up to what they earn and never ever make the little gap into property ownership. They also have the opportunity, these youngsters, these gorgeous, smart, beautiful humans, of earning more. Now, I think kids should be aiming to earn significant amounts of money, and I'm meaning around about $20,000 per month, because I think that then if you're earning $20,000 a month, you can pay rents, you can also save for deposits fast, you can also pay off multiple loans. Like, you've got a lot of choice, but there's not a lot of kids who are earning that amount of money. So how much do you or what do you need to do? Think about asking bosses for pay rises. Think about making yourself more highly qualified and then demanding more money. Think about moving to a better job, a better position. Think about doing a second job, actually having a second job. Think about creating what we call a side hustle, and that's maybe an online business or something where you can earn some money on the side, but also from your own home. That's probably a little bit more comfortable. But, you know, you've either got to save more and get that money working for you, compound interest, etc., or earn more and keep throwing that into your savings. But in the end, if you don't buy property, it's all going to get beyond you. So save, get on top of that deposit, do it as fast as you can, and jump into what you can afford. So learning about money, schools, yeah, not very great at it. It is up to us as parents, I think, to teach kids about money. Lots of good stuff online. I love the Barefoot Investor book. I like Just Property Investor magazines, Smart Money magazines. There is oodles of stuff. There's great groups in Facebook. There are some real, you know, girls saving money type of young savvy savers on Facebook. Like, get your kids thinking about money differently, not just expecting to go to work, be paid, and do whatever they want to do. Think about it differently. Think about money as an opportunity, and think about wasted money as a wasted opportunity. Work on what they will do without. Really look at what can go. Something surely can go. If someone had to sell something to go and get that deposit to get into their first home unit or house, would they be prepared to do it? So maybe that brand new car, I know you're going to sell it at a loss, guys, but if you've got $40,000 tied up in a new car, perhaps the car's got to go for a little while, go and get your deposit, get you started in a property, come back, drive a crappy car, who cares? But then there'll be other opportunities. It's not forever. None of this is forever. It's just for a short time. And setting clear goals. 1 week rolls into 2 weeks, rolls into a month, into 3 months, into 12 months, rolls into 2 years. Nothing happens. I speak to women all of the time. Their kids were in their 20s. Now they're in their 30s. Now they've met a partner. Now that partner has a child. They're still renting. Parents our age, worried sick, thinking, where are they heading? What on earth are they going to do as it gets closer to retirement? Will they ever be able to jump in and get a start. As soon as you have rental income and bills to pay, it gets much, like significant bills to pay, or kids sport, all of that kind of stuff, it gets much, harder. So while the opportunity is there, just go for it. Setting clear goals. Map out where you want to be in 1 month. What are you going to do? Set tasks. Maybe it is throw out all of the old magazines and commit to spend no more than 4 hours a month on Netflix. That'll be interesting. And commit to all of the other hours that you would normally spend on Netflix, learning about property, learning about research, learning about finding a great market where property is just going to grow, finding pockets where your kids can afford or they can afford to buy. Like, set clear goals. So by this month, I'll have my education sorted and be ready to make a move. By the next month, I will have been to see a mortgage broker or a bank and have my finances sorted. By the next month, I would have been through a certain amount of open for inspections and really know this area very, very well, and be putting in offers. So setting clear goals will get you on your way. But not setting any goals, one week just disappears into the next. As parents, I think we have significant responsibility beyond educating our kids, but nothing rings as true as showing them the way, as doing it yourself. If this is your desire and you haven't reached your desire, if you don't yet own your own house, what can you do to change your own life and current situation? It will display out loud and proud in front of the kids. Whatever you do will be right there in front of them. It will make it real for them. It will make it possible for them. Energetically, parents, we're supposed to pave the way and our kids are supposed to follow us. We're supposed to do significantly well and our kids are supposed to follow us. And if you talk to some spiritual gurus, they'll say that the kids feel like they can't earn more than their parents. So we need to get going, to get cracking. If you have lazy money sitting around in equity, if you have not been investing properly, if you've just been slack and you've taken your foot off the accelerator, then get going. Even simple things like doing up some rooms in your own house to increase some equity, or to buy a small investment property. Show the kids the way. People will act through desperation or inspiration to get started, to really go the hard yards. And I would much rather it be by inspiration. So be that inspiration for your kids. It is wrong to tell our kids that there's no opportunity. There is opportunity everywhere. I saw this and worked this out in 20 minutes one morning. A property came up for sale. It was local. My daughter was looking for properties in this area, my youngest daughter. I saw this flat and said, this is a goer. I saw it come up onto the market at $610,000. A few minutes on RP data revealed that another property in that same unit block had sold the year before for $672,000. So I really knew that this was already underpriced. This unit was rougher inside than that, so let's put it at a value of around about $640,000. Are there good opportunities? Yes, they're everywhere. They're still everywhere. You just have to be open to receiving information about them. These properties are everywhere. My kids missed out on this. This was a cracker property. Renovated units in that same block had already sold at $736,000. So there was plenty of margin to create profit. But what my youngest has done is bought in the unit block next door. She actually paid $635,000, which is closer to the market rate, right? But it was also an unrenovated unit, a larger unit. So she's renovated it now. She would have made $100,000 in just less than 12 months. She would not have made that money if she didn't get this to happen and if she wasn't ready for a good deal when it came her way. She was out there hustling. What we can do as parents, lead by example. Like, what is your living standard like? Are you constantly talking about being broke? Are you living paycheck to paycheck? Do you feel enough? Like, have you done enough? Have you slackened off? Who are you hanging around with? Lead by example. Expose these kids to opportunity. Let them know what's possible. Show them on realestate.com what you identify. Take them out to open for inspections. If you see properties that are unrenovated and then you see them, they're done beautifully, take them to those as well, because a lot of kids, a lot of youngsters, they only know what they know and see what they see. They might not realise that you can buy something ugly and do simple things, make simple changes to create something really lovely, something that they'd be proud to live in. So, then they get the best of both worlds. They're not paying top dollar and they get to live in a really nice place, and they get to do it at their own affordability pace. But expose them to opportunities. Talk about subdivisions, talk about granny flats, talk about property, talk about making money. It's not making money and wealth creation is not a dirty thing. It's something that, there's money in our lives anyway, whether we like to recognize it or not. There's always money constantly exchanging. So expose them to opportunity, and don't let them think that they're being greedy by thinking really purposely about their future and focusing on the things that they can be doing. Expose them to people who are doing well. Expose them to people in particular who are their age, who are doing well. They are in stories on Current Affair, in Smart Property Investor magazine, in Australian Property Investor magazine, in Smart Money. Like, they are in magazines, they are online, they are on the internet. Exposing them to people their own age who've made a start, and getting them to dismantle what those people actually did to make those leaps. Encourage them to be brave. If you have limiting beliefs about borrowing $600,000 when your kids are in the earning position to be able to borrow that amount of money and invest wisely with it, don't go tell them, oh my God, that's an awful amount of money. Are you sure? And what happens if this one? Keep that to yourself. Encourage them to be brave. Many people are never brave enough to dive into buying their first house. Don't take your own limiting beliefs or any stories of things that have gone wrong. All you need to do as a parent is be on top of all of this education yourself, so you know what's a good deal and what's not a bad deal, so that you can wave the flag a little bit and say, hey guys, have you checked all the details in relation to that property? Have you considered this, this and this? You can pull them up if you see them about to do something disastrous, but don't stop them from having a go, having a crack. Protect them from the naysayers. That might be their friends, or it might be your friends. It might be your parents. It might be their uncle. There are so many people who are really happy to impart their own opinions upon others and make the kids feel small, less than, like they're risking it all. So protect your kids from people who have that kind of attitude. Just expose them to people that are doing well, that have done it. Help them be proud too of friends of theirs that have actually made a start. There's sometimes some energy where people get a little bit maybe jealous or think, oh, that's okay. They'll make excuses. Oh, that's okay for you because you have a better job than me, or that's okay for them because their parents gave them a deposit, or that's okay for them. Tell them to stop all of that and just focus on inwardly on what they've got to bring to the table, what they're able to do, and don't let people around them tell them that just because it's hard, that it's impossible. It is not impossible right now to buy property, and it's not going to get any easier, so they might as well get a start. Explain that there are many, many ways of getting money outside of the big four banks. Those banks love to say no, and they break hearts, and people give up way too soon. So if the banks say no, then you've got to do things like, how can I look better for the banks? Maybe I need to get rid of a couple of credit cards. Maybe I need to move back home with mum and dad for a couple of months. Maybe I need to take that pay rise. Maybe I need to watch my spending. Maybe I need to watch my spending on certain things like lottery tickets and alcohol. And you don't want 10 visits to Dan Murphy's every month on your credit card. The banks have visibility over that stuff. Make yourself look fantastic to the banks. Work on it. Be professional when you approach the banks, but certainly never give up. If a bank says no, never ever give up. They are just one way of getting money. There's always a way to get a start. So, teach your kids to do proper property due diligence. The kids, they're busy, right? Like, they're good kids. They're out working. They're doing their thing. They like things fast. They like to only know what they know. Generalization. Probably got my own kids in my head here. They just like things to be presented to them where they're not going to waste time getting across it. So maybe that's where you can help. Maybe you can get really good at doing some property due diligence and only show them the things that seem like they're a good deal, rather than say, hey, guys, go and sort this out yourself. That is a great way you can help. Then they still feel like they've done it themselves when they're buying the property and they're fixing the property up, or whatever it is. So it's whatever it is they do. That is a great way to help them. So teach them to do proper due diligence. Learn how to do due diligence yourself. And always just let them know it's possible for them. It is possible. The gap is bigger. Wages aren't growing as fast as property prices. Who cares? We should not use that as an excuse. We should just say, that's how it is. How can we get it to happen? What do I need to do differently? Do I need to look in a different area? Do I need to look at buying a place and renting out a couple of rooms or a granny flat, whatever? I'll go through some strategies, some really cool strategies with you over the remainder of this month. But let them know that it's possible. Do not allow them to give up. They are far too young to sit back and go, okay, I've missed the boat. Oh, now I'm going to have to pay $200,000 more than if I had of 2 years ago. Like, that's true, but don't let them give up because they're thinking that way. Don't allow it. Be fierce mama bears. Okay, so what if we don't do anything at all? What are the consequences? I read this. I actually saw it online and I went out and bought the magazine. I don't usually buy Australian Women's Weekly. It's my mum does, but that's okay. But this was such a cool article. It quietly terrified me a little bit. I look at that caravan there and I think that's caravan. It's where you go for holidays. It might be a beautiful part of the world in northern New South Wales, but that's not necessarily where I want to live. And it frightens me that our kids, if they're locked into renting and rental rates keep increasing, if they haven't been able to secure some kind of property, that this is what they'll be faced with in their latter years. Forced out of the market, can't afford to rent, cannot afford to buy, and almost can't afford to stay where they'd love to be, except if they take this kind of accommodation more seriously. They take this on board. That's the only way that they can stay in some of these places. This is actually up in northern New South Wales, Byron Bay area, and that has doubled in the last 12 months or so, or 2 years. So it's it's hard if that's the place that you've chosen to live and you haven't bought somewhere there years ago when it wasn't expensive, or nearby Ballina or Federal or Lismore or any of those other surrounding towns, then this is what you're going to be faced with. The other thing we need to consider if our kids don't take action when they have the chance is rental increases are going to increase beyond wage affordability, like they have done traditionally and they will continue to do so. Whereas one wage, one family income could almost get you there, and most of the time did, not living the high life, but certainly get you by. Now 2 family incomes, 2 people's incomes are getting people by and meeting rental payments and mortgage payments too, but it's taking 2 incomes. So yeah, definitely getting tougher, but not impossible. But look at these rental increases. We rented a 4-bedroom house in Burraneer in 2010 and 11. It cost us $750 per week. It was your typical house in this area. The house of the same kind of standard that I showed you a few pictures back, that now rents for $2,300 per week. $2,300, same suburb, 4-bedroom houses. Renting forever is not the answer. I'm not sure about you, but I don't know too many people with a spare $2,300 per week to pay rent. for somebody else who might move them out every time they want to come back and live in the house themselves, or move them along if their daughter comes home, or move them along because you've kept the place beautiful and they think that they want to put it on the market right then, or not let you hang stuff on the walls. And I know there's been a lot about pet ownership and all that kind of stuff, but you just don't have the same freedoms when you're a tenant as you do when you're actually owning your own home, even if you have a mortgage on that home. The discomfort of constantly moving, that has to factor into it, surely. There's nothing worse than settling into a place, you really like it, the landlord's fine, but you get that knock on the door from the real estate agent who says the landlord's decided to move back in or to sell the house, you're out. You've got till Christmas time, whatever. It's just uncomfortable and unfair. There's a lot of work in packing up a truck and packing up boxes, particularly have a family. That's where us as mums always get called in to help as well. Most of all, if these kids don't get started in property ownership, the missed opportunity over the years is crazy. 7% average annual growth every year traditionally. And that means through bad years and that means through good years. Like 7% is like that, right? So say annual growth every year. But we know that it goes up some years and down some others. But last year and the year before, far out, the property prices in most locations around the country were moving. Some were not, but most were, and they were moving well beyond that 7%. And if you've got your finger in the pie, if you've got a little chunk of the pie, then you get that profit. The thing is, when you buy, you might borrow $600,000 from the bank to buy that property. When that property is worth $700,000, the bank doesn't get the profit. The bank just gets the repayments due to them. You get the profit. And then if you can draw that profit out and go and do it again, then you get the profit from another property as well. All right, so here's proof. Here's, what did they say? The proof is in the pudding. Here we go. Here's my beautiful Alanna and Bruce. I first met this beautiful young couple at one of my workshops in around about 2018, perhaps 2017, somewhere around there. They were keen. They sat quietly. They listened the whole time. They were researching property, how to make money through property. They just wanted to get themselves educated, and they have through my group and others. As a result, they make every move a right move. Lana is still out there with her friends on the boat having wine. So that's great. It's not like you have to miss out completely, but they choose what they go to and what they don't go to and what they do and don't do. Bruce works hard. He has a good job now. He's worked hard at getting that good job because he understands how important earning good income is. So does Alanna. So here we go. This is what they bought. They bought a little old shack and they did it up. This is a painting of the little old beach shack in a really cool location. And they bought it a couple of years ago now. Look what's happened beside them. People all around them are building these beautiful big homes, adding value to this property. They've now reached the point where even though that was renovated enough, painted beautifully and just lovely, neat and tidy, they didn't spend any money doing that up because here it goes here. They're building a new house on that same block. This is how the kids can do it, probably in 1 or 2 chunks. They also look and always have property deals and bits and pieces happening on in the background. So it doesn't happen from doing nothing. Young people aren't going to make a start unless we encourage them to get in there and have a go. Unless we let them know that days in work boots on a sandy block with your sleeves rolled up is acceptable and is okay and enjoyable and part of a relationship, unless we kind of instill that in our kids, we'll get a whole bunch of kids who just want to throw it all away and say, I'm just going to move into a nice rented place because it feels nice. I'm going to fill it up with my furniture. I'm going to buy my new car and I'm not going to worry about that because from the outside, I look like I'm fine. The truth is, in 20, 30, 40 or 50 years' time, I don't even want to think about how our young kids, if they don't have property behind them, are going to be able to afford their retirement. And as you and I know, you think retirement is a long, long way away, but it's certainly, it cracks along. I'd invite you all to follow along for free property information left, right and centre, and also renovation tips and advice in the Mums and Dads Renovators and Decorators Facebook group. It's a group that I'm really proud of. It's growing by the day, and I really like the vibe of that group. It's not for businesses to advertise. It's for ordinary mums and dads and their kids. You don't have to be a parent to come into that group. Don't feel like that. But it's a place for people to learn about property, about investing, more specifically renovating, and how you can just jump from one thing to the next. Over the next few episodes, I'll be talking about exactly what kind of properties to buy, what you should be spending, etc. And in the meantime, because I am not their mum and they might listen to me, as parents, I know what it's like. I've lived it, where you start to talk to your kids, and you can start to see their eyes go, oh, here she goes again. But I'm not your kid's mum, and they're probably more likely to listen to me on a good day. So feel free, guys, book a call, either all of you together, don't mind talking on Zoom to a bunch, or just you, or you on loudspeaker with your significant other, whatever. But if you want to talk to me about property and organising a bit of a strategy and a plan moving forward for you and your kids, renovateandrealestate.com.au/call. Keep your eyes open. I'm having upcoming free live trainings, virtual events. And I'm also running a weeks of free trainings every second month, every other month. So, guys, book your call. Happy to help. Thanks for listening. Bye.